The F-86 Sabre was the aircraft that defined the Korean War and marked the true beginning of modern jet combat. Introduced in 1950, it was built specifically to counter high-speed enemy fighters. Powered by the General Electric J-47 turbojet, the Sabre could approach the speed of sound in a dive and featured swept wings that gave it excellent performance at high altitude. What truly made the F-86 deadly was its advanced radar-assisted gun sight, allowing pilots to accurately engage enemies during fast-moving dogfights. Over the skies of Meiji Alley, Sabre pilots gained a strong reputation, proving that a combination of technology, training, and tactics could dominate jet-age warfare. The F-86 became a benchmark for all future fighter aircraft. The MiG-15 was one of the most influential fighter aircraft ever built and a major surprise to United Nations forces in Korea. When it appeared in late 1950, it immediately outperformed most Western jets in speed and climb rate. Its swept-wing design and powerful Klimov engine allowed it to reach high altitudes quickly, making it ideal for intercepting bombers. Armed with heavy cannons, the MiG-15 posed a serious threat to aircraft like the B-29 Superfortress. Many MiG pilots were secretly Soviet veterans, turning Korean airspace into the first battlefield, where jets fought jets on a large scale. The rivalry between the MiG-15 and the F-86 Sabre became legendary and shaped future air combat doctrine. The F-80 Shooting Star was America's first operational jet fighter and one of the earliest jets to serial combat. Entering service just before the Korean War, it represented a major technological leap from propeller-driven aircraft. However, its straight-wing design limited its performance against newer swept-wing fighters like the MiG-15. As a result, the F-80 was quickly shifted from air-to-air combat to ground attack and reconnaissance roles. It proved reliable and versatile, supporting troops on the ground and gathering vital intelligence. While not a dominant fighter, the F-80 played a critical role in transitioning air forces from World War II technology to the jet age. The F-84 Thunderjet was one of the most heavily used jet aircraft of the Korean War, not as a dogfighter, but as a strike aircraft. Designed to carry a heavy payload, it excelled at low-level attack missions where speed and firepower mattered more than maneuverability. Armed with bombs, rockets, and napalm, the Thunderjet became a key tool for destroying bridges, supply routes, and troop concentrations. Although vulnerable to MiG-15s at high altitude, pilots adapted tactics by flying low and fast. The F-84 proved that jets could replace propeller-driven attack aircraft and set the standard for future ground attack fighters. The F-9F Panther was the U.S. Navy's first truly successful carrier-based jet fighter. Operating from aircraft carriers off the Korean coast, it provided fleet defense and close air support for UN forces on the ground. While slower than land-based jets like the F-86, the Panther was rugged, stable, and well-suited for carrier operations. It became the first Navy jet to score air-to-air victories and played a crucial role in proving that jet fighters could safely operate from aircraft carriers. The F-9F Panther laid the foundation for modern naval aviation. The B-29 Superfortress, famous for its role in World War II, continued to serve as a strategic bomber during the Korean War. Early in the conflict, B-29s conducted daylight bombing raids against industrial and military targets. However, the arrival of MiG-15 jet fighters made these missions extremely dangerous. Heavy losses forced B-29 operations to shift to night bombing, signaling the end of the bomber dominance era. The B-29's experience in Korea demonstrated how jet fighters had permanently changed air warfare. The F-51 Mustang was a propeller-driven aircraft flying in a jet-dominated war, yet it remained one of the most important aircraft in Korea. Jets lacked the endurance needed for close air support, and the Mustang filled that role perfectly. With long range, heavy machine gun armament, and the ability to loiter over the battlefield, it became a favorite among ground troops. Flying low and slow made the F-51 vulnerable to ground fire, but its impact was undeniable. The Mustang proved that older aircraft could still play a decisive role when used in the right mission. The Yak-9 was a Soviet-designed fighter originally built during World War II, but it continued to serve during the early stages of the Korean War. Operated mainly by North Korean and Chinese forces, it was used for air defense and ground attack. While outmatched by jet aircraft, the Yak-9 remained agile and reliable at low altitudes. As jet fighters took control of the skies, aircraft like the Yak-9 were quickly pushed into secondary roles. Its presence in Korea highlighted the rapid transition from propellered aircraft to jet-powered combat. The Lavochkin La-11 was a long-range escort fighter developed from late World War II designs. In Korea, it was primarily used for bomber escort and coastal patrol missions. Although heavily armed and capable of long flights, the La-11 was slow compared to jet fighters and extremely vulnerable once engaged. Several La-11s were shot down by F-86 Sabres, clearly demonstrating the overwhelming advantage of jet aircraft. The La-11 service in Korea marked the final chapter of piston-engine fighters in frontline air combat. The Il-10 Sturmovik was a heavily armored ground attack aircraft designed to support troops at the front lines. Built as an improved version of the famous Il-2, it entered service just as jet fighters began to dominate the skies. In Korea, North Korean forces used the Il-10 for low-level strikes against UN positions, vehicles, and supply lines. While its armor protected it from small arms fire, the Il-10 was slow and highly vulnerable to jet fighters. As UN air superiority increased, the aircraft suffered heavy losses. The Il-10's combat experience in Korea showed that traditional armored attack aircraft could not survive in jet-controlled airspace. The AD-4 Skyraider was one of the most effective close air support aircraft of the Korean War. Despite being a propeller-driven aircraft, it could carry an enormous weapons load including bombs, rockets, and napalm. Its long endurance allowed it to remain over the battlefield far longer than early jet aircraft. Skyraider pilots flew dangerous low-altitude missions, supporting ground troops in critical situations. The aircraft's toughness and versatility earned it a legendary reputation. The AD-4 proved that raw payload, reliability, and endurance could still outperform speed in certain combat roles. The Hawker Sea Fury was one of the fastest propeller-driven fighters ever built, and one of the last to see combat. Operated by British and Commonwealth forces, it served mainly in ground attack and strike missions from aircraft carriers. Despite facing jet aircraft, the Sea Fury remained highly agile and powerful at low altitude. In a rare moment in aviation history, Sea Furies successfully shot down MiG-15 jets, proving that skilled pilots and strong aircraft design could still challenge early jet fighters. The Sea Fury's service in Korea marked the dramatic end of the piston-engine fighter era. The Gloucester Meteor was Britain's first jet fighter and the only Allied jet to see combat during the Korean War. By the time it arrived, newer Soviet jets had already changed the balance of air combat. Although originally designed as a fighter, the Meteor struggled against the faster and more agile MiG-15 in dogfights. As a result, it was reassigned to ground attack and reconnaissance missions, where it performed more effectively. The Meteor's service in Korea demonstrated how quickly jet technology was advancing and how first-generation jets were becoming obsolete almost overnight. The RF-80 was a specialized reconnaissance version of the F-80 Shooting Star and played a critical but often overlooked role in the Korean War. Stripped of heavy armament and fitted with high-resolution cameras, it conducted deep penetration photo reconnaissance missions over enemy territory. Flying unarmed and at high speed, RF-80 pilots gathered vital intelligence on troop movements, airfields, and supply routes. Their work directly influenced bombing campaigns and ground operations. The RF-80 proved that information could be just as powerful as firepower in modern warfare. The PO-2 was one of the slowest and simplest aircraft to fly during the Korean War, yet it created a unique psychological impact. This Soviet-era biplane was used primarily for nighttime harassment missions, flying low and slow over UN positions. Its wooden structure and quiet engine made it difficult to detect on radar, Dropping small bombs and flares, the PO-2 disrupted sleep and morale rather than causing massive damage. Despite its primitive design, the aircraft proved that even outdated technology could remain effective when used creatively. The PO-2 became a reminder that warfare is not only about speed and power, but also strategy,